And we are live. Did you ever wonder why June Cleaver of Leave It to Beaver wore pearls and high heels around the house? Is the house dress making a comeback? Why did I decide to open the Apron Diva apron shop? Well, on tonight's show, tonight's traditional homemaker live Q&A, we're going to answer those questions. We're going to dive into the reasons behind June Cleaver's wearing pearls and high heels around the house. We'll talk about the ubiquitous house dress, and I'll give you the 411 on the Apron Diva apron shop. And as always, I'll take some time to answer your questions. If we're just meeting, I'm Denise Jordan, and I teach traditional homemaking for today's homemaker. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then please hit the subscribe button and double tap the little bell icon so you don't miss any upcoming content. Okay, let's do some quick homework here. I need to give you a message from our sponsors. So tonight we are co-sponsored by the Coldest Water Bottle, and Coldest Water has one enemy, and that enemy is hot. And their goal is to bring you water bottles and other gear that keep your water as cold as possible. So that's what their goal is to do. So refillable water bottles such as this shrinks your environmental footprint by putting less plastics in the landfill. So if you're into caring for the environment and trying to get some of that plastics out of the landfill, then refillable water bottles such as this one will help you with that. It's insulated and it doesn't sweat, so it doesn't leave rings on my wood tables. I'm getting a frog already. And this pretty little bottle comes in a variety of different colors, so I'm sure they have one that you will like. So check on the link in the description box to get in on their free weekly giveaways. And they do give away some really cool stuff. And then if you browse around their website and decide there's something you want to purchase, then they have also given me a link in the description box where you can get 10% off your purchase. So there's that. And then the other thing, our other co-sponsor is Apron Diva, my apron shop. And that shop is launching on Monday. It's going live on Monday, April 26th. And as you know, or at least you should know, aprons can make great gifts. And I know that because some of my favorite aprons were given to me for my birthday or for Mother's Day or for Christmas. And Mother's Day is coming. So be sure to get on the email list by clicking on www.aprondiva.com. Now let's take a look to see who's here. Let me check out my visitors. And we'll say hello. And so my first note that I put up is just says, hi, homemakers. I'm looking forward to get into the 3 articles on homemaking tonight. And I've got some very interesting articles. And if you guys can't hear me, please be sure to let me know, because then I'll do some troubleshooting. And then I also have the very first person that was here tonight was Lori Sirkarski, and she is from Michigan. So she's saying, hey, from Michigan. And then Nefertari from Matriarchs Matter was the second one that jumped in. And then, of course, I've got Flora Swinney, who's here, and Fancy Schmancy. I always just love the name of her YouTube channel, Fancy Schmancy. And Jimmy Starr is on saying, I'm a beautiful woman. I'll take that compliment. Thank you very much. And then Luann, it is always so good to see you. I miss talking to you, but it's always something around here. So she's with us tonight. And then I've got Khadija from Her Healthy Home is with us. And ladies and gents, I am going to be on Khadija's show on Saturday at 1 p.m. I'm going to be her special guest on her live stream, and we are going to talk about how like for young moms, how they can get it all done, and for the seasoned homemakers too. So be sure to join us. It'll be nice to have some friends to be on there when I'm on. And then Libby, hi, Libby, it's good to have you with us as well. And then Nancy is here from, oh, I missed her right there. Nancy is here from Kentucky. And then Niraja is here. So hi, Niraja. And she says from Vamsi, Niraja. So I wonder if this Vamsi's family that is on with us, is that Vamsi right there? And then let's see, people are talking there. Take me to Tammy's house. Hey, Tammy, it's good to have you. And yes, I thought that was from Bamsey. Okay, so hello for you from Bamsey. I am good. And Nefertari says she just bought a lemon apron. Lemons are so pretty and they're kind of trending right now. Susie is on with us as well. Melissa from Buckeye Girls Recent Things is here. I'm wondering are you in Ohio, Melissa, because you're a Buckeye girl? Just curious. Carolyn Howe is here. Millie Armstrong. And Nefertari agrees with me, Fancy Schmancy. She says that's a fun name. And Best Yet Journey. Hello, how are you? Do you know yesterday I caught the live stream where you were interviewing Khadija. It was so much fun. And you guys were on for almost 3 hours. I was like, oh my goodness. I listened to almost all of it. I was cooking dinner and washing dishes, so I put it on and let it play. But when it was time for me to go to bed, I had to turn it off. But you guys were just working it. So congratulations to both of you for being able to do that. And let's see. Yep, as I thought. So Melissa said born and raised Ohio girl, and she's in Western Ohio now. So yeah, when she said Buckeye girl, I thought those Ohio Buckeyes are pretty strong, have lots of school spirit. And I thought, I'll bet she's in Ohio. Okay. And then Karen is in Wisconsin. Hello there. And I think that's it. So I have greeted everyone now. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I have to tell you, I just find these 3 articles on homemaking so much fun. And I will say, I am totally stealing this idea from Jennifer Scott of the Daily Connoisseur. And I will link Jennifer Scott in the description box later on tonight. I'll link her in the description box. And one of her videos on 3 articles on dress. She does really fun articles on 3 articles on dress. She does a video on 3 articles on dress. And I just find them so interesting. So I thought, why don't I do 3 articles on homemaking? Because I found some very interesting homemaking articles. As a matter of fact, I had so many for tonight, I couldn't decide which ones to look at, but I finally narrowed it down to like 3.5. But it's just fun. So we'll do 3 articles on homemaking about every couple of months. But I'll link Jennifer Scott's, which is the Daily Connoisseur, in the description box so you can kind of see where I am getting the idea from. So there's that. And let's see. So, and I've got Bianca Hart here from Texas. Yeah, I got people here from all over. And I get some people in from Australia and Canada too. So I really appreciate that. So, okay. So the first article that I want to talk about is it's about June Cleaver. And I just thought that one was so interesting. And I got my stuff out of order because I was looking at my notes earlier. So now I'm going to share the screen to kind of show you guys this. And you guys know if I don't talk through it every time, I mess it up. So I'm going to share the screen and then click here to share the screen and share this screen button. And then I'm going to click that tab and let me find the article. There it is. For a minute there, I thought, well, wait a minute, where did it go? And here it is. So, and also remember, guys, I'll look over this way from time to time because I've got my iPad down here and I look over there just to make sure that what you're seeing on the screen is what's up there. Because sometimes if I don't click a button right, it doesn't appear. So one of the people that we talk about off and on is June Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver. And you look at her here, you see she's got on her little pearl studs and her pearl necklace and looks like a little wool jacket with a velvet collar. And Leave It to Beaver is considered one of the most wholesome television shows ever filmed, and it ran for 6 seasons, featuring the Cleaver family, of which there was Theodore, who was Beaver, and then an older boy named Wally, and then June was the mom, and Ward was the dad. So the interesting thing, though, is that typically, you saw her in the house with pearls and high heels. And then here you see a picture of her right here. And you can't see any pearls in this picture, but she does have, it looks like there's a scarf or something up around her neck. Well, here's the real story about those pearls. Some publications suggested that Barbara Billingsley, who played June Cleaver, decided to wear pearls to cover a surgical scar. But she actually explained the rationale behind the pearls herself in an interview in 2003. And she was asked to wear pearls because she had a deep hollow in her neck. And from what I read, her neck was like really long, and she had a deep hollow under her neck. And when they would try to film her, it would put kind of a weird shadow on her neck. And so they asked her to wear the pearls to cover it up. And the pearls covered the area up perfectly. So there's that. And then, so whereas she did wear pearls pretty often, they didn't appear in every scene that she was in. There were times when she would wear a scarf around her neck or a high cut blouse to try to cover up the hollow. Isn't that interesting? I just thought that was so interesting. And then the other thing is that, she was known for wearing high heels. So pearls and high heels, cleaning her house. And she'd also have on her frilly little aprons, but pearls and high heels in the house. And it turns out that the high heels were also very practical, because as the boys, Wally and the Beaver, got older and they got taller, they wanted her to be taller than the boys. So they put her in high heels so that she would be taller than the boys. But it turns out that it got to a point that even having the high heels on wasn't enough, because the boys just grew so sometimes they would have her stand on stairs so that she would be higher or taller than the boys. So there is that first article on homemaking. And I will link this article in the description box so you guys can check it out and take a look at it for yourself. But I just thought that was so interesting. So now let me stop sharing this and come back to see what you guys have to say over here. Let's see what's going on now. Oh, Jenny Smith from Ontario, Canada. Hey there, Jenny. I'm glad to have you here. And Nefertari said she watched the show in syndication in the 80s and loved it. And, I watched it as a kid growing up. Everybody sat in front of the TV and you watched Leave It to Beaver. There weren't very many family shows. Well, there weren't many shows on TV at the time. This was the time when you had one television in the house, and everybody sat around and watched it at certain times. And then the TV shut off at either 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, but the TV went off and there was nothing. So I kind of grew up watching that. But I just thought it was so interesting. And then we've got someone here from Southeast Michigan. Hey, Tracy, good to have you with us as well. So do you have any comments or questions about that one? And I'm going to get ready to get our next article up. But I thought that was just so interesting. So let me get that one out of the way. Now, the second article that I wanted to talk about is about the house dress. So my first question is, how many of you, I guess I should spell it right. How many of you have a house dress? That's the question that's on the table. How many of you have a house dress? And then we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. I'm going to talk about like the history of the house dress, that kind of thing. And I've got like a really interesting article to share with you about that. So now let me get this off the screen so that it doesn't block anything. So Tammy says she has 2 house dresses. Anybody else have a house dress? Just let me know real quick and then we'll get into our discussion. So who else has a house dress? Tammy's got 2. I will admit I have several, and you will even get to see one of my house dresses in one of the clips that we're going to take a look at. Buckeye Girl, Melissa says she wears dresses most of the time. Millie says she has several house dresses. And then Khadijah says what qualifies? She only wears dresses and skirts. So she doesn't think that qualifies. Well, yeah, it does, Khadijah. We'll talk about that more in just a little bit. But Tracy says she doesn't. She wears lounge pants and a t-shirt. And Nefertiti says she likes to wear caftans. Do they count? Well, let's just take a look. So the next article that I have is called The Outfit That's Fallen by the Wayside, A History of the Classic House Dress. Now I'm going to share the screen. So I'm going to share and share and share again and share again. And let me find it now. Right here. The Outfit That's Fallen by the Wayside, A History of the Classic House Dress. And, you know, when you take a look at this picture right away and you see this woman bent over, looks like she's making sausage or something like that. And you've got, yeah, it looks like that's what she's doing. And then she's got on a dress and an apron. Notice short sleeve dress, looks like it might be cotton. It's got a nice little print. And then you can see the dress or the apron or something ties in the back. So there was a time, remember, when women never wore pants and only wore dresses. And I remember like my grandmother on my mom's side, I never saw her in pants ever. And there's a picture coming up that looks almost exactly like my grandma, but I never saw her wear pants at all. She only wore dresses, and she also wore aprons quite a bit. Now, my mom wore pants some. And my grandfather was an old-fashioned Baptist minister, and he didn't believe in women wearing pants. And so she didn't come over to the house wearing pants, even when she was a grown-up woman and married. And when I was growing up, you didn't go visit grandma and grandpa and have pants on. You went over there wearing a skirt or a dress. But anyway, today's women can wear pretty much anything they want. But back then, pants and shorts were only meant for beach vacations at best. And then we can kind of see here how the house dress has evolved. So here you see her working in the kitchen. There's her little wringer washer right there. And then as functional garments, house dresses had to fulfill a variety of qualifications. They were usually lightweight like cotton, but later on we saw polyester and rayon when those things became more available. They also had pockets. And you can see here is an example of one. Here's a house dress there. You can see a little pocket there. This one is on Etsy. So this is probably a modern replication of that. And they were easier to launder and often had some kind of a print, which means that if there was a stain or repair, you could do that and it didn't show very much. And then in time, they began to put zippers in these house dresses. So look at this image here. So some iconic designs came out of the tradition of house dresses. So like the popular swirly dress, which was often seen marketed as a wrap apron. And these and other wrap dresses of the 1940s were often copied at home since they were easy to sew up and they looked great with a frilly apron over the top. And now look at these dresses. You can kind of see they all have waists, but they're pretty loose, particularly here in the middle. So sometimes if they were cut generously enough, they could also double for a maternity dress. So look here, extension waist dresses, comfortable, low price, and best of all, stylish, ideal for maternity wear, and fits the figure with or without a corset. So this was coming around the time too, when corsets were starting to go out of fashion. And I'm going to talk about that, Bianca, in just a minute. Just hang on. I got the answer to that question. And look at these prices, $12.95 for this one, $4.69 for this one, $4.98 for that one, $5.95 for that one. So just think about the prices now today. Compared to today, though, that was quite expensive back then. So there's that. And then here are some of the other house dresses that most of us tend to think of. When these were probably more like in the 20s and 30s kind of thing, but these are the ones that I'm more familiar with now. When you take a look at, they typically have collars, they have a small waist, the skirt tends to be a little bit fuller. You can kind of see that right there, where the skirt tends to be a little bit fuller. And many old-time house dresses featured a loose waistline, which gained widespread popularity following World War I. So that's another thing. After World War I, because of the availability or lack of availability of fabrics and different things like that, the amount of fabrics in dresses had to change. They had to start using less fabric in women's dresses because so much of that fabric was needed for the war effort. So that also had a lot to do with how the style of dresses evolved as well. So that's partly why dresses became shorter. They needed that fabric for the war effort. And then staying at home, cooking, cleaning, and childbearing was, pretty obvious in what many women did during that time. So, the dresses that would extend to maternity purpose were also good. But now look at these. Aren't these cute? Wouldn't you just love to wear maybe this one today or this one? I really like this one, and I don't like that one so much. I'm not a big fan of rickrack. And then look down here, you kind of see more dresses. These are their aprons over the dresses. So these two here in the middle would be what you might call pinafore kind of aprons, because they have more fabric on the shoulders, on the bib. These are what you call full aprons or bib aprons. But see, these might be called pinafores because they've got all that ruffle, that extra fabric up there. These don't have that additional fabric, that kind of thing. And this picture here, when I look at this picture, I swear this is my grandmother. I remember my grandma on my mom's side so much, bending over, like looking in the refrigerator. Now, she didn't have this kind of fridge, but just from the back, like the way her arm and her body is shaped, her shoes, and her hair wasn't like that. She tended to let her hair down. It was longer than that and just kind of cut straight across. But I looked at that and I thought, oh my goodness, it looks just like my grandmother. But look at that house dress that she has on. And notice you've got the nice little prints, that kind of thing. Looks like there's flowers or something like that on it. And then look at this house dress. This particular house dress came from the Mother Hubbard poem, or I should say nursery rhyme. This was envisioned after the artist Kate Greenaway illustrated her nursery rhyme, Mother Hubbard's Cupboard, with women and girls in smock dresses in the 1880s. So this is a Mother Hubbard dress. And so you begin to see dresses that look like this when women still had to be fully covered, but they didn't have to have all that structure of a corset and a bustle and all that kind of thing. Now, those didn't really catch on. But now look at this. So the house dresses, which most women, most housewives had, particularly during the interwar period, they might have worn them at home, but they weren't considered fit to wear out. And then later on, women began to wear those dresses, their house dresses out to run errands or something like that. But look here, look how pretty this apron is over these house dresses. So now they've got better dresses, more beautiful dresses. And then look at the apron. This is a half apron or a waist apron, as my sister likes to call it. And then you can see this one is a half apron as well. So lots of full fabric. And if you look down here, this is the apron from the front, and this is the apron from the back. So look at all the fabric that was used. Just lots of very full fabric. Are they not beautiful? And then there was something called the popover dress, which I've not been able to find. I meant to look for it over here again, but I forgot. So there's this article. So did you not find that interesting? So that's this one. So now, before I start to look at the chat, let me just say there were a couple questions about where you can find some of these dresses. Well, let me just show you. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen. and come back over here to StreamYard. And before I start looking at the chat now, I'm going to show you some of the another article that I found. So I'm going to share and share and share and share. And this article here, now we've looked at this website before, and this is the Retro Housewife Goes Green, and she's always talking about retro stuff. And I think her site is just so cute. But she talks here about ditching the yoga pants and embracing the house dress. Look at those shoes. Are they not to die for? And then again, she shows a house dress this woman is wearing with one of these little small aprons on. But look at the dresses here that she says you can find some of these vintage inspired dressing at a store called ModCloth. And look at those dresses. Are they not cute? And these are other vintage inspired dresses. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing this and come back over here and then show you where you can find So this article is called 16 House Dresses for Comfortably Lounging Around in Style. And I think these dresses are just so cute. Now, look at all the different ones that are there. And I don't have this link in the description box, but I'll put it in there so you can check it out. And then look at this one. I think this one's adorable. I really like the stripe, so it's gathered around the waist. It's nice and simple. Can you guys see that? I want to make sure that I'm sharing this right. If you guys can't see that, please tell me. Okay, so let me come back over here to StreamYard. So I told you if I don't talk it through, so I'm going to share, 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 best. Share. Okay, I think I did it right this time. Yes, okay. Sorry about that. So here we go. So these are some house dresses. I think they're just adorable. And I really like, say, this one. I like the way the skirt is so flowy. I'm one of those little girls that would spin around and twirl the skirts. So I love this. This one is like a little 1960s, the hippie movement. I kind of like the very, what do you call it? Bohemian. That's pretty cute. Like that one. Not so much the caftan, but there are those that love that. And I think somebody mentioned tonight that they prefer the caftans. Look at this. And I like house dresses with pockets. And look, this one is just $19.99. You can find it on Amazon. So I'll put some links to some of these dresses in my description box. So I just thought I should have some links there. So if you guys want to click on them and check some out. But isn't that cute? And that one is cute. And look how she's got those shoes on with it. And then this one's just a little short for me. That is cute. And then I have 4 house dresses. That one's really cute too. I actually have more than 4, but now look at these. That's not a dress. There's a caftan. There's another one. And look at this one. I have 4 like this. I have this color. I have a red one. I have a blue one. And I have one that's kind of an orange color. And I don't have the plus size. They've got these in regular size as well as plus size. What goes from like size 2 to your plus sizes. And as you can see, they're not very expensive and they are so comfortable. You guys have seen me wearing those. And I've got a red one that I wear a lot. The red one and the blue one, I tend to wear quite a bit. And then here's some other ones though. So these are really cute. So this is one site. This was on the CNN site. Now I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to stop sharing that and come back here. And then come over here. Now, this is from Vogue magazine. Now, these, I wasn't as feeling these quite as much, but some of you might. So here's one again that's kind of a smock-like. It's more like a caftan because, like, look how loose and wide the shoulders are. And then look at this one. And then here's one that I think is very vintage, just very vintage. Jason Wu cut out. So look at those. Very vintage. And this one, very vintage, makes me think of some of the dresses I saw, like the 1940s maybe, or even 30s. This one is adorable, just absolutely adorable. I love the colors. I'm not so big on the little ruffly sleeves like that, but if that one's okay, that one's nice. This is another cute one. And then here's another cute one. Now, these are on the Vogue website. And, so again, very comfortable to work in. You can bend over, you can move around, you can do whatever you needed to do. Oh, now that one is really sweet. So these are some of the ones that I found on Vogue. I'm going to stop that. Come back here. Aren't those cute? And I think that was it, Vogue. Yeah. Okay. So now let's take a look at the chat to see what you guys had to say about that. So Nefertari says she likes to wear caftans. Do they count? Did you see all the different caftan looking dresses that were in there? They count. And so Hard Hustle Mom, Megan, I forgot your name again. I'm thinking it's Megan. Mickey Blue Skies isn't on. She always remembers names, but I'm not as good. Well, Hard Hustle Mom, you have several house dresses, much more comfortable, especially being pregnant. Yes, I have found they are so comfortable. And I was so surprised when I saw like 4 of the dresses. Actually, there was another one similar to one that I've got. Were actually on there. I didn't even think to put links to the dresses in the description box, so I'll do that. Melissa says her best friend's mom, her mom's best friend never wears pants. Yeah, I've got that red dress, that particular red dress. I've got that red dress in there. So now, Bianca, you want to know, is there somewhere these traditional house dresses can be purchased? Yes, there is. Not as expensive as retro, but a true functioning house dress. Would love to find some. I found some on Amazon. They're true functioning house dress. The one that I showed you when I said I've got that one, I've got 4 of them. And most of those dresses that we saw would work. And some of the ones that I found on Amazon are less than $25. Now, when I've been in my Donna Reed persona, those dresses that I've ordered in, they weren't very expensive either. They were less than $35. And when I'm doing my Donna Reed thing, I'll put them on when I'm cleaning and all that kind of thing. But if I'm just being me and I'm not being Donna Reed that day, I'll put on one of those other house dresses because it's just so easy to figure out, well, what am I going to wear today? And I can just grab a dress. Don't have to worry about matching it with the top and the bottom, that kind of thing. So now, Khadijah, whereas you may not wear dresses, well, you wear dresses and you also wear skirts with tops. So that is your uniform or your version of the house dress, the skirt and the blouse or the dresses that you prefer to wear. Mom, Dad said her grandma never wore pants either and always had an apron on. Yes, mine always had an apron on. So you would love to have a vintage one. You know what? Some of the vintage ones, though, can be a little pricey. But if you shop online, if you look enough, you could probably find a nice vintage dress for under $40 if you look online. Or hit up a thrift shop. But those vintage items are really not as easily found thrifting anymore because everybody's into thrifting. Everybody just needs to save some. Kathleen Fincher. I need to have a drink, but Kathleen Fincher, is this my friend Kathleen? Is this my friend Kathleen from the Quilting Guild? My throat was getting dry. If so, hey, Kathleen, it is nice to have you here. And yes, time has changed. So, Khadija, you can find patterns about these vintage dresses. All of the pattern catalogs have a vintage section because I've been looking into those things as I'm looking into vintage aprons for the apron shop. And yes, they do have vintage patterns for dresses. So yeah, you can certainly find some things. So if you're into sewing, you can find that. Let me just ask a question. How many of you ladies and gents on here know how to sew? Is that something you could do? Come up with a house dress on your own, make a house dress or make an apron. If not, I will certainly put some links on house dresses in the description box that you can purchase at reasonable prices. And like I said, I have 4 of those particular house dresses, and the sizing was fine, and they go in and out of the wash as coming out. They look just as nice as when they went in. So if you guys want me to run, well, I won't run and get them, but well, I might have to. I was going to say my husband can never find anything. If I say, honey, go find that blue dress, he would bring every dress in the closet, and it wouldn't be the right one, but they're pretty good. So Bianca says she didn't think to look on Amazon. It's so hot in Texas, even with air conditioning in the house, you're sweat. Yes, house dresses are perfect. And I have to tell you what, the other day, there was a workman coming over for something. And I just thought, okay, I'll just, I got up quickly, hit the bathroom, and I just grabbed a house dress to put on. And, I put on a slip, underwear and a slip, that kind of thing, and put on my slippers or sandals. And I was presentable. And I'm starting to think more and more about being presentable from Jennifer Scott. I used to wear my yoga clothes all day long. I'd get up and I hit the ground, I'd hit the bathroom, put my yoga clothes on, then I'd go do my yoga, and then I'd throw my laundry in and start during the day. And I'd wear my yoga clothes all day. I might go somewhere. I don't do that anymore. I don't run out in my yoga clothes anymore. I just try to be more presentable from that. So Kathleen Fincher. Oh, it is my friend Kathleen. Oh my goodness. Ladies, Kathleen is such an old friend of mine. We met each other in our quilting guild, and then she was just so good to my mom. She really was. So, hey, Kathleen, I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so yes, Forever May May. Hello, happy Thursday. Yes, this is live. So it's good to have you with us. And then Dalutzu is good here. Dalitzu is good. So hey there. And wait a minute. So Libby says she enjoys sewing. She made vests, dresses, skirts, blankets, pillows, and tops. She recommends getting oversized wrapping paper at Christmas to make your own pattern. Oh, you know what? I needed to go and buy some pattern paper. And, it's just almost like that very lightweight interface. And I just didn't want to spend like $4 a yard to buy that. But that's a good idea. Oversized wrapping paper from after Christmas sales can make your own. Good idea. But yeah, good idea. Thank you for that great tip. And Khadijah's thanking her as well. You can also link patterns. They sell patterns online. Amazon probably has them. Yes, but I tell you what, when I was looking for my vintage apron patterns, I had a hard time finding them. I could find them online and I could order a couple online, but to go to Joann's, they were out. She says, we sell out. We can't keep up with some of those patterns. So Evelyn Mitchell is here from California. Hey, Evelyn, good to have you with us. And she said there's a YouTuber who literally wears vintage dresses every day, lives in a vintage decorated home, car and appliances. And you're right. There's one, I can't think of who she is. I just started following her, and she just bought a vintage washing machine. She bought an old-fashioned wringer washer. And I was like, why would you want one of those? I could see all the other stuff, but that wringer washer, I'm like, no, I am not going back that far. And I remember when I was a girl, there was a girl at the time that we knew that got her hand and her arm caught in one of those wringer washers. She got her arm amputated up to her elbow. I would not have one of those in the house, but she's excited about that. So, but yeah. So I can't think of who that is. So Dalutsu says she can sew by hand and by machine, and she can certainly make those things. Okay, so good, good. All right. Well, it sounds like quite a few of you are interested in the house dress. I think house dresses just make so much sense. You know, they're just so easy to work with, and you don't have to figure out like what to match it up with. It's just put the dress on, put the shoes on, and you're good to go. I told my husband that I get dry when I talk so much, and he just gave me this look and just kind of smirked. And I'm just like, don't you say a word. Just don't say anything. Well, you know, Melissa says that she would love a wringer washer. Oh, Melissa, I don't want to go back there. I just don't. I want to be able to plug my washer and dryer in and let it do its thing and let it spin and that kind of thing. Don't want one of those. Is it Lacey Faye, the vintage girl next door? I don't know. That's not who I was looking at, I don't think. But Kim says wringer washer works when there's no power. This is true. You're right. And you know what? What's her name? Rainwater Country Rain Country Home, something like that. Rain Country. She's a homesteader. I think she has one of those wringer washers. She has it out on her porch and it doesn't have electricity, that kind of thing. Yeah, Khadija, no, I'm not into that kind of thing. Khadija says, when I talk about my husband, it's so hilarious. You know, my sister says that he and I should have our own show. She said, you guys are just so funny. And I don't think we are, but you know what? I remember watching some different little movies and different clips like that when you watch couples that have been married a long time and you watch the kind of interaction they have, you know, you just kind of crack up. I'm like, oh no, I think we're that couple now. It's like when they say, oh, you guys are so cute. I'm like, oh, we're now that couple that's cute, but he's a sweetie pie though, I must say. Yeah, Tammy, I'm with you. I like my electricity. Okay. So we talked about the June Cleaver. So we got that one done. And then we talked about the house dress and how those look, and how they've kind of evolved. And so the next article that I wanted to talk about was about aprons. So now let me get that off the screen. And I kind of got 1.5 articles on aprons because I couldn't decide which one to show. And one of them really didn't have any pictures or not very many pictures. And the other one had pretty good pictures that were in it. And so I thought I'd bring it up and talk about it just a little bit and then see what you guys might have to say about what are some of your reminiscences are, and then we'll go to the one that actually does have some pictures in it, because I just thought it was just so interesting because they both touch on a couple different things. Melissa says people love it when her husband is in her videos too. Yeah, I think it's that added element of someone else. It gives people just a little bit better view of what your life is like. So I think that's why people like that. So, okay, I'm going to share my screen. And you guys let me know if you can't see it once I say it's up. And the first one is vintage. Okay. Now it's up. And it looks like it's sharing appropriately. Okay. So this particular article called Vintage Aprons and the Modern Recreations Are the New Fashion Statement. And look at this one here in the picture. I mean, isn't that cute? You can just kind of see so many that are like that right now. And I'm not going to read her whole article here, but she talks about the fact that her favorite working apron is the version of the kitchen utility shield. So when you think about what aprons are for and how they are used to cover your garments to keep them clean, makes perfect sense. And I like the fact that now this article was written in December 8th 2012. So this was in 2012 when she talks about the resurgence of apron buying and wearing can be explained in many ways, but the truth is that aprons are hot as both collectibles and utilitarian kitchen essentials. At vintage shops, trendy boutiques, kitchen stores, and even barbecue supply businesses, you'll find healthy supplies of aprons. The choices multiply online, online quite a bit. And they talk about the flirty aprons. And I've got some flirty aprons that I'll have in my apron shop, as well as some vintage ones in due time. There's this thing they talked about called Apronology, which I am going to have to find because I just thought it just sounded very interesting. But it talks about that in aprons' renewed popularity stems from a growing interest in domesticity by a generation of young women who grew up in homes where mom was working rather than waiting at the door with milk and cookies after school. Supposedly, that's why there's this renewed interest in domesticity. But I also saw articles that talked about the fact that the COVID-19 has forced many women back into the home. And because of that, they've either had to quit their jobs or they've lost their jobs. And so now they're full-time homemakers and homeschoolers and all kinds of stuff related to being back home. And so all of this has renewed interest in aprons, particularly as homemakers cook more and more and more, because when everything was shut down, you had to cook at home. So, and they're finding the need to do that. And then also they believe that from the TV show Mad Men, which was situated in the 50s and 60s, these kind of things, and people watching these things on Nick at Night or watching syndicated, like Leave It to Beaver and those other kind of shows on antenna TV, so to speak, has brought a renewed interest in that. And then the other thing that's mentioned here that I thought was quite interesting is that the apron, and this is a quote by Claire Steele, says the apron brings fashion into the kitchen and helps women feel fantastic even while doing something that can be perceived as a chore. And I totally get that. So drop me a comment in the chat box or in the comment section if you are here on the replay, if putting on a pretty apron makes you feel good when you're in the kitchen and makes your work less dull. I love putting on a pretty apron. And as a matter of fact, when I'm trying to figure out what dress I'm going to wear, sometimes I'll decide what apron I'm going to wear based upon the dress I have on. Because of course, if I've got on a plain dress, maybe I want to dress it up with a pretty apron. So there's that. But apron sales are up in the United States. Let's see. What else is in here that I wanted to be sure to mention? I have marked a couple of things. They even talk about aprons being used to make a political statement, which I thought was quite interesting. So here, this one here, there was like before Thanksgiving, there was a tie one on day to honor aprons, but also there was a story in here about when you come home and you put on your apron, it kind of is like a transition, kind of like when Superwoman puts on her cape and she becomes strong and all of that. She becomes a different person. Well, when you put on your apron, you're putting on your caregiving cloak. When you enter the home, sit down your purse, briefcase, shopping bags, take off your coat, and exchange it for the domestic armor, which is your apron. You switch gears in your head. It's a signal, a trigger. Some people light a candle, burn incense, or pour a glass of wine. But tying on that apron says, I have another job now. The whole family needs to reunite, and the apron signals that. I love that. What do you think about that? And I'm going to read that again. It's a signal, a trigger. Some people light a candle, burn incense, or pour a glass of wine, but tying on that apron says, I have another job now. The whole family needs to reunite, and the apron signals that. I Love that. And I agree. When I put on my apron, it's like, okay, I'm ready to do what I need to do, whether it's cooking, whether it's cleaning, or if it's gardening. And I have a different apron that I use when I'm gardening. It's like it does symbolize that I'm ready to do business. And then I thought this was interesting. If aprons are so popular, how come we never see them on celebrity cooks like Rachel Ray or Gina De Laurentiis or Ina Garten? And I thought it was kind of interesting here that the author says, well, they don't have to worry about their clothing because someone else takes care of it for them. And I thought, yeah, that's probably true. So let's see, what else was there in this one? All right, so there's that one. So now I'm going to stop this one. I'm going to stop. And I'm going to come over here. Now let's just see what you guys are saying. Okay. Jenny says that apron is very pretty. April Cornell has beautiful aprons, but they are so expensive. I have to go and see who April Cornell is. I'm going to look that person up. But I tell you what, the aprons in my shop will not be $120. I'm going to look to see who that is. April Cornell. I'm going to look to see who she is. Kathleen agrees that that apron was pretty. So Khadija says, yes, the way you dress helps morale. She likes candles and listens to music. Kathleen says it does make her feel good. Shine bright to glow. I am so sorry that you tuned in late, but I'm glad you're with us here. You can catch the rest of it later, but right now we're talking about aprons and how they make you feel, what they signify, whether or not you care for them. And I've got another article to share, so just stay right where you are for now, and you can go back and catch the rest of it on the replay. But I got you, Khadija. I knew you meant morale. And you said some of your prettier aprons also serve as decoration. Yes, I've got one that's like really frilly, light, kind of tulle. And I don't wear it very much. It's just so lightweight and frou-frou. Like that thing is not practical. It's like one of those little cocktail aprons kind. Oh, a personal chef. Okay. Yeah, see, they don't have that. $120. That's crazy. I might spend $120 on a dress, but an apron, no. Okay, so there's that one. So now this other thing I thought was interesting. So let me bring that one up. And I'm moving quickly between the articles because I don't want to keep you guys too long. But you know how we can get to chatting. So I'm going to share and share and share and share and click that. And then history of that one. Okay. So I've learned to know when it's got the little blue screen at the top that I'm sharing it properly. So now this one is called The History of Clothing, Aprons, Practical and Decorative Fashion. And when I look at pictures from the Florence Nightingale era, from nursing and things like that, I often will see women in pictures like this with this kind of apron on. And so, it talks about the fact that an apron is worn on the front of the body since ancient times, and it serves as being decorative as well as ritualistic. It protects the clothing, but it also can indicate the rank or a group affiliation to the wearer. And I thought it was kind of interesting that they talked about certain colors of aprons might have been particular for certain groups, things like that. But aprons can be made from cotton, which is mostly what we see today, muslin, linen, canvas, which is like a heavy kind of a sailcloth, leather. So you see blacksmith might have like and workmen, guys working in a shop, they might have a leather apron on to kind of protect their bodies from the kind of things they're doing. And lead aprons, if let's say you're an x-ray tech, they wear lead aprons. But here we see this little girl with a pinafore style apron. Now remember, the pinafore aprons have more ruffling on the sleeves, and then she's got that little baby down there. So now let's talk about the different types of aprons, because I saw someone was interested in like the half apron. So, most aprons tie around the waist, and you can have what's known as a half apron, which is a small piece of fabric. And it might be a huge piece of fabric, but it starts at the waist and extends to mid thigh or longer, and it ties around the waist. That's a half apron. A full apron or a bib apron covers the chest. So, you see the bib comes up to here, covers the chest, has ties around the neck or loops behind the neck, and then it also ties at the waist. And then you have a slip-on apron, which are like those hospital gowns that you put on backwards, which I don't see many of those, but you do see them every now and then. And then you have the crossback aprons. That's what Michelle at My Everyday Wife Life said she likes, where they cross in the back and then it comes down to the waist over the shoulder. So it crosses in the back over the shoulders, comes down to the waist. And this says there's no ties, but there's usually a tie right at the waist just to kind of snug it up. And then we did look at the little pinafore apron on the little girl, which has a lot of the ruffling over the shoulders, that kind of thing. And they're usually attached to the bib, that kind of thing. And you might often see them on little girls and that kind of thing. And then Raggedy Ann wore them, and also Alice in Wonderland also had on an apron, and Dorothy wore an apron in The Wizard of Oz. So who knew? Now this is a man wearing an apron. He's got on that kind of an apron, and he's getting ready to kill a boar. So I'm like, why would you, But anyway, so he's a butcher or something like that. If you look at this picture here, this guy also has on an apron. He's got a magnifying glass. So he's some kind of a scientist. He's collecting things, that kind of thing. So depending upon what people did, what your business was, you wore aprons. Cobblers wore black aprons to protect garments from the black wax they used on shoes. Butchers wore blue stripes aprons. Butlers wore green aprons. So blue was commonly worn by weavers, spinners, and gardeners. So there was aprons for all different kinds of reasons. And then here we have Donna Reed, and look, she's got her apron on. So here's her apron right there. She's got on a half apron or a waist apron. And then, there are her two kids and her husband, that kind of thing. And she's got the coffee pot in her little coffee mug, or rather coffee cup, I should say. So here we see, whereas paintings often show subjects wearing aprons to signify a specific type of work, and then women were often shown wearing aprons to depict warmth, practicality, hominess, sentiment, and hospitality. So there's Donna Reed. So you guys have seen me when I'm being Donna Reed. And let's see. This was interesting here. It talked about in the mid 20th century, like right around the time of in the 1940s, we saw the apron become the icon of the American housewife as a domestic goddess. And then after World War II, people who grew up with the privations of the Great Depression welcomed the simple aspects of home and family life, because sometimes during the war and after the Depression, families were often uprooted, separated, and many were never seen again. So a simple, well-run home with an intact family seemed like paradise. So the apron became the symbol of family, mother, and apple pie ideals, and signified a cozy kitchen and enough food for everyone. So it was the uniform of the American housewife, could be plain and practical, fun themed, or kitschy. So this was during the time when you saw more and more prints and designs come out, because they were able to do more with machine printing. So you might see aprons with pots and pans on them, spoons, toasters, and other kinds of kitchen items, coffee cups, and all kinds of stuff. And then, of course, you had your masculine aprons for the man in the house that would refer to things like, dad's cooking skills and all of that. And then this was one which I thought was probably during the 1940s, Ours to Fight For, Freedom from Want. And so here you've got, looks like Thanksgiving, and you've got, like grandma there in her apron, and there's the family gathered around the table and that huge turkey there. So aprons fall out of favor in the late 1960s. So I thought that was so interesting. They fell out of favor in the 60s as housework fell out of favor. Aprons were suddenly viewed as old-fashioned garments worn by grandmothers and fuddy-duddies. So 60s, this would have been around the time when I would have been in high school. My mom didn't wear aprons then at that time. And so I remember seeing my grandma wear them, but my mom wasn't wearing them, and none of the other ladies were wearing them at that time either. And so the idea of being a housewife seemed dull and ordinary as women reached outside the home for satisfaction and reward. And so as I was growing up, I certainly didn't think that I would one day be a stay-at-home wife. That was not something that I had in my mind. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. Okay. Got a note from Mickey Blue Skies. I was trying to see what she had to say. So aprons remained a staple of the workplace as a means of protecting garments, but they were also worn as a kind of uniform. So there's that. So when did the revival of the apron come about? Well, in recent years, the lowly apron has made a comeback due to several cultural factors. The increased popularity of cooking and the back to the kitchen movement brought upon by, like HGTV on things on the Food Network and that kind of thing, a new appreciation for meals made from scratch as people started to think more and more about cooking in the home. So we started to see the apron used again for practical reasons. Full aprons with extra long ties that go around the back and tie at the front made aprons gain in popularity, as well as aprons made of sturdy fabrics. And then the craft movement, there became an interest in handmade aprons, both full and half aprons. And so we started seeing aprons, homemade aprons at church bazaars and things like that. And they're popular items on Etsy. So internet craft sites like Etsy, we see a lot of handmade aprons there. And then as we look at retro fashions, and the vintage look has induced young women to take up an interest in the old-fashioned style aprons. And I love those old-fashioned vintage aprons, just love them. So now we're seeing them back in style. So look here, we see these long ones right there. These are those crossback aprons. They cross over the back, and there's nothing in the waist here. That wasn't the one that I was thinking of, but these are crossback aprons. And look at those hats. I'm glad we don't have to do that. This is another apron here. There's the waist, and it looks like she's got something around the back. And there's another apron there. So that's it. So now let me stop sharing that and come back here. All right, so now let's just see what people are saying. Yeah, $120 is too much for an apron. Oh, she said she made a mistake. Okay. All right. She made a mistake. And she watched Cedar Creek Homestead. Josie wears an apron all the time. I got to see what that is. Cedar Creek Homestead. Because I'm not familiar with that one. Cedar Creek Homestead. Okay. So Hope says she just joined. She's definitely been wearing her apron more since she started watching me. Oh, how nice. You know what, Hope, several women have told me that they've started wearing their aprons more since watching me wear mine. I love wearing them. And it just helps me protect my clothing. And if I forget to put one on, let's say I'm in the kitchen, I go over to the sink to do something, and I lean against the sink, I'm like, oh, I don't have my apron on. Then I'll go and grab it and put it on real quick. Patricia is here. Hey, Patricia. I don't know about that. I'm going to have to look up Cedar Creek Homestead. So Melissa says wreath makers love aprons with business names on them. Okay, I like that. I don't know who Josie is. She says many people Josie's age wears aprons, but the younger generation doesn't really. But the younger generation is starting to wear them more, Khadija. They're starting to kind of have that trend and starting to pick them up, particularly those women who are stay-at-home housewives and that kind of thing are starting to do that more. Oh, hi, Kathleen. I'm glad you think it is. Oh. Well, thank you, Nefertiri. Well, good. So, okay. So now let me guys show you, let's see, where are my notes? This is just so much fun. I just had so much fun talking about that, preparing for this. We've done that. Let's see. right. So now let me just show you guys something else. And let me just show you a little reason why I started Apron Diva. So let me get that off the screen. So Jeanette, yes, Jeanette, she says if you're the hostess, you can do your final preps and not mess up your party clothes. Exactly. They are meant to help you protect your clothes. I say aprons are pretty and practical. They are totally functional. So now let me show you. Share, 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 share. This is just a little clip that I put together to show you why I started Apron Diva. I've been getting lots of questions about my new business, Apron Diva. And the biggest question is, why did I want to start an apron shop? And it's really quite interesting. I've come to love aprons, and I really feel like aprons are one of my best accessories because when I'm in the kitchen cooking, or if I'm cleaning, or if I'm working out in the garden, aprons just kind of help protect my clothing. So aprons are pretty and practical. And by being practical, they are totally functional for whatever it is that I need them to do. So if I'm making spaghetti sauce and I don't want to splash the spaghetti sauce on my shirt, a bibbed apron is perfect to protect my clothing. If I'm working in the garden and I'm picking some peppers, or maybe I want to bring in a bunch of flowers, the skirt of my apron is perfect to help me carry them into the house. And if I'm cleaning and I need a pocket, either to tuck a tissue, my cell phone, or maybe a spray bottle, then aprons are perfect. And that aprons can be the homemaker's best accessory. Okay, I'm going to stop that. So there's just a little bit about, why I fell in love with aprons and what I'm planning in that regard. So now let's get into some questions. So now, Jeanette, you're jumping the gun. So Jeanette says young people are doing it because of home cooking, but also they seem to be infatuated with the 50s. Well, I have to show you guys. Where's my folder? I have a folder that I had gotten. I had my librarian run a search for me. And because I wanted to collect some articles on homemaking so that as we move forward, I have some interesting ones to talk about. And you guys send me some. If you find a good article on homemaking, send it to me and I can talk about it. But so the librarian, they did research and they found 4 articles for me that I'm going to use in a future show. Well, actually, they found 12 articles, but this one, when that speaks directly to what Jeanette says, that young people are doing it because of home cooking, but they also are infatuated with the 50s. Well, in this particular article here, which I'm going to talk about at another time, it talks about the grand millennial style, the new design trend in old to old school. And then mid-century, again, grand millennial style. So, and Mary at Rocky Mountain Gardens is the first one that mentioned that term to me. You know, Mary's a librarian. And I had never heard of it. And so I got to doing some of the research. Well, I didn't do this particular research. The librarian did it for me. So we'll talk about these in one of them. But it's just so interesting. And hey, Miss Congeniality, it's good to have you here. I hope you were on and were able to hear most of the stuff. Oh, thank you, Fancy. I'm glad you like that. I am just so excited about all of that. And so Patricia says her Aunt Carrie always prepared her meals wearing an apron well into her 80s and a more fancy apron for dinner. Oh, and you guys know there's even apron etiquette. Who new. I have to talk about that one day, but I didn't know there was etiquette associated with that. But one of the YouTubers that I follow is Nikki at Inspired by Nikki, and she did a piece about aprons and etiquette, and you're not supposed to wear your apron at the table to eat. I was like, oh, really? So I guess after you've been running around the kitchen, you've been doing all the work, once you are done, you take it off to sit down at the table and enjoy the meal with your family. So I thought that was interesting. Oh, thank you, Jenny. Thank you. I appreciate that. So Carolyn says she loves wearing aprons because it reminds her of her mother and her grandmother. Yes, I've got one, and I got it hung up in my bedroom, but I've got one and only one that was my grandma's on my dad's side. It's just a little half apron, and it's really quite small compared to the kind of fabric and the amount of fabric some of those old aprons have. And it has one little pocket on it. But Grandma Earl would keep a little derringer, which is like a little small gun, probably about that big. She would keep a little derringer in her apron pocket. And she lived in a rough part of St. Louis, Missouri. And so when somebody would knock on her door, she would go to the door with her hand in her apron pocket, and she would have that little derringer in there. My grandma was a pistol, and she carried one. But yeah, Grand Millennial, that's the title. So we'll talk about that one day. Patricia said she enjoyed the history. Yeah, wearing an apron makes sense. Hi, Angela. I'm glad you stopped by to see us as well. Yeah, Grand Millennial is catching on fast. So Vernell says she's infatuated with 50s dining and 60s clothing, and she loves Jacqueline Kennedy and her clothes in the 60s plain Jane kind of fashion. So Jackie Kennedy was definitely a fashion icon. Very, I won't, well, the like pillbox hats, very kind of plain, elegant lines, very classic lines, pearls and that kind of thing. Yes, she said her Aunt Carrie would remove her apron when sitting at the table. I didn't know that, but I take mine off now. Yep, there's just so much going on. You are absolutely right. But I just thought that was all so interesting. So what are your thoughts on house dressings? Tell me in the comment section. And what are your thoughts today about wearing aprons? Tell me your thoughts on that. And let me remind you guys that I am going to be on the show with her healthy home, who is Khadija, at 1 p.m. Saturday, this coming Saturday, which should be, I guess it's what, April 29th or 30th. I'm not sure what that date is. Let me look. Where's my calendar? Saturday is the 24th, right? Yeah, Saturday is the 24th. So 4, 24, 21. So I'm going to be on Khadijah's show, Her Healthy Home, at 1 p.m. on Saturday. So tune in to check us out. And let's see. Nefertiti says she doesn't wear cleaning aprons to cook in. And I get that too. It depends on what I'm doing. I've got aprons that I garden in, and depends on what I'm doing as to whether or not I change aprons when I'm cooking and cleaning. If I'm cooking first, and then depends on what I'm cleaning as to whether or not I change out for all of that. Because most of my aprons are simple enough that I can wear them for most things. But I do have some that I reserve for more sturdy kind of occupations. Khadija says yes to both. Tammy says she loves house dresses and the apron idea. Okay. Yep, there's the time. 1 o'clock on 4/24 that I'm going to be on there. So Fancy says a lot of aprons that she sees in the stores and even online are either too expensive, too flimsy, or too small, or just too ugly. She's super picky about what she wears, and coordination is the key. And I agree. If some of them are too small, it depends upon what it is you're doing. And for the most part, you need them to cover you either from here, to, mid thigh, and depending upon what it is that you're doing. Yeah, it depends upon what it is that you're doing. Patricia says the house dress is relaxing after a long day outside. Yes, it is. Vernell says she thinks aprons is the nostalgia from the past and the present. It keeps our clothes clean when you cook. And they have a lot of cute aprons nowadays. They really do, especially now with all the different kind of prints and things that they have. Some of them are just so cute. Some of them are just so cute. Oh, Jeanette says that her mother and her daughter have Betty Crocker pie slice cover cookbooks. She was the first to get it at 12 for her hope chest out of a print of a Shame Best. A new cook says everything in it. Betty Crocker's pie slice cover cookbooks. Please don't tell me about another new cookbook. Rachel Knight told me about a vintage cookbook that she had, and it just looked so good. I went online, found it, and ordered it. And then somebody else told me about a cookbook, and I thought, oh, I have to try to order that one. And I thought, wait a minute. I just decluttered my cookbook cabinet, and I got 3 Betty Crocker cookbooks. Don't tell me about another one, because I can't resist them. So Khadija says aprons are the hardest things for her to find. She would have a lot more. Well, Apron Diva is live on Monday, so you guys will be able to go on Monday at 8 o'clock. The store Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern. The store goes live, and you'll be able to click on there, and you can order some things out of it. Now Jenny, you said you'll try warmer dresses once the warmer weather arrives, but you know what? I've been wearing dresses for the winter as well. And what I did was I found some stockings or tights to wear with them. I found them at Target. I found some that are like a cocoa brown, so they're almost a flesh color, not quite, but they're close enough considering I'm just wearing them around the house. And they were a 20 thickness. The 50 is heavier, and then the 80 is really heavy, almost like tights for children. And the silk and really sheer ones that we wear like to church and places like that are a lot less. So the 20 ones are nice and thick, and they're warm. So that's what I was wearing underneath my dress. And then, of course, when it was like really winter, I had some fleece line tights too. Yeah, that black and white striped one with the flowers on it is my very favorite. And that's kind of the one that started it all. My daughter sent me that one for Mother's Day or my birthday, one of those two. And I loved it. And so I wear it a lot in my videos. And then she sent me another one, like some of the cutest ones that I have, she sent me. So yes. So Fancy, yes, it's coming Monday. Hi, Alexandria. I'm glad you're here. Catch the replay. We had a lot of fun talking about house dresses and aprons and then Apron Diva and all of that. Oh, okay. Okay. So 6 pictures in a pie fashion. It has how to set a table. Oh, okay. A good for the, I'll have to find it. Yes, guys, mark your calendar for Saturday when I'm going to be on with Khadija, and then mark it for Monday that the Apron Diva opens live. And also, don't forget to come on back to our spring cleaning collaboration, where many of us are in that, and it is on the last video in the group of 4 drops on Sunday at 2 o'clock. Yeah, Evelyn, wear aprons a lot. They're just so practical. Oh, it's out of print. You know what though? See, I found a place called the Book Depository and another place that sells like vintage books or out of print books and things like that. So I found places where you can find books. Now, that one book that I've got, that 1901 one, I would love to get another copy of that one, but it's not available. There was one on eBay and somebody bought it, but it's probably a couple $100 if you were able to find one. And there was another vintage cookbook that I saw, that Rachel it might have been that one. Somebody had it for $80. I'm like, are they crazy? But I was able to find it at that bookshop for like, $20 or something like that. So yes, we got another decluttering video that's coming out on Sunday in our collaboration. So the question of the day is this: apron wearing is undergoing a renaissance. Are you one of the homemakers that have found an option, that have found aprons to be one of their best accessories? Tell me in the comment section. Again, I'm going to type this in. Apron wearing is undergoing a renaissance. Are you one of the homemakers that have found aprons to be one of your best accessories? And I hope I got all that spelled right. So tell me in the chat box if you're on with us live. Tell me in the comment section if you're here on the replay. Are you one of the homemakers that is a part of this new renaissance of apron wearing? Jeanette, I can't tie a pretty bow in the back, but I can tie a pretty bow in the front. So a lot of times what I'll do, and I should have brought an apron in here, but a lot of times what I'll do, like many of the aprons, they have extra long ties. So you tie it around the front and then you bring it around and then you can like tie it over here on the side and then you can make a pretty bow right there. You can make it pretty right there on the side. So Melissa said she found her mom's favorite cookbook, the Pennsylvania Grain Cookbook. I have to write that down. I shouldn't, but you guys know me and cookbooks. And then here was Jeanette's question. How many of you can tie a pretty bow in the back? That's her question. How many of you can tie a pretty bow in the back? Oh, the Grange cookbook. I've heard of the Grange. I know it has something to do with like either a cattle association or something like that, but it has something to do with homesteaders and farmers and all of that. And they would put things together for the women. So yeah, I'm familiar with the organization. So Khadija says she cannot. Yeah, I do that with the stripe one. I'll bring it around. And some of the ones that I'll have in the shop, most of them will have extra long ties on them so that for my fluffier women, you can bring it all the way around. It's full enough that if you're slimmer, you can loop it around the back and then the front, tie it on the side. But if you're a little bit fluffier, you can tie it in the back. And I use the term fluffier lovingly because one of you ladies here on the show asked if I would have aprons for our fluffier ladies. And I'm like, okay, I think that's an acceptable term. So yes, if it's offensive, someone, please let me know. All right, ladies. So I think we have covered all of our topics tonight. So Dalutsu said she has 2 that she's going to start wearing today. She'll also make more since she's trying to get to help her children help her more. And she said she can tie a pretty bow. My sister-in-law can tie the prettiest bow, and so he kind of showed me how to do it just a little bit. Okay, Kathleen, I'm going to call you because there's something I have to ask you about. I'm going to call you as soon as we get off tonight. Vernell says, I need a room just for my cookbooks, or a cabinet, one of those walls that looks like a door just to put your cookbooks in. I've got a cabinet just for the cookbooks, but I promised myself if I brought another book in, one had to go out. And I got one that came in the mail the other day, and I got one that should be coming, but it was one that Rachel told me about. Where are the two Rachels tonight? They're usually with us, but neither one of them are with us tonight. I hope everything's okay. Yeah, you see in that old TV series, The Perfect Bow, they have that. Kathleen, I'm going to call you as soon as we get done tonight. And let's see. Let me make sure I've got Melissa. Let me tell you something. That is a never-ending struggle for all of us. I had to go to the doctor yesterday, and I had to get on the scale, and I was just like, oh. And she just started laughing. She just said, you might as well get it over with because all of us have the same problem. And then I had to go to physical therapy today as a result of my doctor's appointment. And the therapist said, so how much do you weigh? And I was just like, well, I knew how much I weighed because I just got weighed yesterday. And then him and my husband both just started cracking up at my response. So, hi, Lotta. It is good to have you here with us. And Natalie, it is good to have you here as well. I see you got something on that tray to show. I don't see an apron. We've been talking about wearing aprons and cooking and all that. We have had so much fun tonight. At least I think we have. Did you guys enjoy this conversation, the 3 articles on homemaking? Tell me in the chat box whether or not you enjoyed that, because if you did, I thought I would do one about every couple of months. Just something interesting like that. So let me know. Oh, Susie, I've done that at Weight Watchers a couple of times where I'd have them wait and be like, look, I don't want to know what it is. Just write it in the book because I don't want to know. So Jeanette said she did enjoy tonight. So if you guys enjoyed tonight, just put a thumbs up in the chat. That's all you need to do. If you thought this was a fun conversation, just put a thumbs up in the chat and let me know. But I thought it was fun. I just thought it was fun tonight just to talk about all these different things and to learn some of the things that we did. And let me also remind you guys, one, to be sure and check out the links in the description box and visit our one of our co-sponsors, Coldest Water. So be sure and check out the links, and they have a free giveaway every week. So be sure and check them out. And if you decide to buy something, please use my link so I can get a little bit of a kickback from that. And then also, if you haven't signed up for Apron Diva, I'm going to drop the link in here. When you guys see my site when it opens on Monday, you guys are going to love it because Mickey Blue Skies has done a beautiful job getting it all set up for me. Wait, what's this say? Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. It was a lot of fun to do that photo shoot. Like, look, guys, I got my eyebrows done. My eyebrows used to be pretty wicked. And they say your eyebrows are not twins, they're sisters. There were times when I didn't think my eyebrows were even friends, let alone, sisters. But I got them done. I don't know if you can tell now because I don't have my face on tonight. I was just tired after I came from physical therapy and I had so many things to do. It was like, okay, I just didn't have time. But it was fun to get all that done. Don't get rid of our cookbooks. They're treasures for life. They're second in line after the Bible. Well, my really good ones, like the ones that I got from my grandma, those aren't going anywhere. I just wish I could find more better versions of them because these have been well loved. So the pages kind of come apart when I mess with them. So I can't really work with them too much because they're so old. But I'm going to start making some recipes from some of them. And Hope says, I'm not sure if she qualifies as young people, but she definitely is making it a point to not just wear an apron and home to cook. She wants to learn all of the things our grandparents did all the time. Yes, I agree. And Hope, you know who can do that. Khadijah can can, and she can can like meats and stuff like that. I only do water bath canning, but I'm going to get me one of those pressure canners that where I can can meats and those kinds of things. But as far as quilting, I can quilt. And Kathleen, who was on tonight, is one of my quilting friends. And I do gardening. Soap making, though, I have not done that. But those are things that we want to learn to do. And like my grandma, her and all her sisters, they used to tat and crochet and knit. You know, I can't do those things. Okay. Oh, some people miss the notifications. I'm sorry about that. Well, you guys take a look at the replay because we really had a good time. And it is time for us to be wrapping it up. So let me make sure I covered everything. Oops. We did that. All right, like I said, be sure and check out our co-sponsors, Coldest Water. Sign up for Apron Diva. It's launching on Monday. And in the meantime, this is Denise Jordan saying you are not done yet. Click on the link in the description box to visit our co-sponsors, and I will see you next time. Good night, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us. Melissa said she cans everything. Melissa, I can only make like jams and jellies and like tomato sauce. I've canned salsa, water bath canning. I've not tried like canning proteins and things like that. I would like to. And I make my own like chicken broth and that kind of thing, but I freeze that. I don't can it. So I made some fish stock and I made some fish stew for my husband and different things like that. But I need to learn how to do, oh, thank you. I'm getting a virtual hug. Thank you so much from that. Oh, yes. Bianca, the shop opens on Monday. So yeah, if you just signed up, it says coming soon, but it opens on Monday. So Mickey Blue Skies has been working on the site. That's why she wasn't on tonight because she was tired, but we were going through all of the different little pages. There is so much to do, and there's so many different policies and procedures and processes. I never had a clue, but I'm learning. So she was working on that part of the business on the site. So yes, Monday at 8 o'clock, it goes live. Monday at 8 o'clock. So anyway, so good night all. But don't forget, I'm going to be on Khadijah's show on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Her Healthy Home, Saturday at 1 o'clock. So you guys come and check me out. And good night. See you guys Saturday at Khadijah's show. Goodbye.